Hello everyone. Namaste to all gadgeted officer, IS, IPS, doctors, surgeons. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to continue with weekly current affairs, science and technology updates from 9th August to 15th August. In the previous part, I covered the first 18 set of news and today I will explain the remaining 38 important updates out of a total 65 news item. This video will be definitely going to be very helpful for students preparing for UPSC, BPSC, State PCS, SSC, SBI, IBPS, ACIO, NDA, CDS, and different types of competitive exams. Along with current affairs, my channel also provides detailed English grammar lesson for Tier 1, Tier 2 exam and in-depth biology lectures which are useful for NEET, EAMS, UPSC, BPSC state PCS exam. On my channel, I will continue to upload at least three English grammar lesson, three biology lectures, and one and weekly science and technology current affairs series every week. So kindly stay updated, like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Remember, knowledge grows when shared. So keep learning, keep growing. So I wanted to quote: success is not the result of one big effort. Success is not the result of one big effort, but the outcome of small, consistent steps taken every day. Success is not the result of one big effort, but the outcome of small, consistent steps taken every day. So, dear student, consistency is required for clearing any entrance exam. Let's get started. Remaining news. PEL V1. Recent research in the North Pacific subtropical gear has revealed a giant virus, and the name of that used virus is PLV1. So, what is the characteristic of this virus? Is this virus mostly infect the plankton, Pelagodinium, which is belongs to dinoflagellates, and this virus has a tail, longer tail than previously known virus. It measuring body measuring 2.3 micrometers, and in that its tail is about 19 times the length of the coronavirus. You know about the coronavirus that causes COVID-19. So this virus's tail is about 19 times longer than the length of a coronavirus and other virus. This discovery provide new important information about marine viruses and their ecological roles. About this virus, PELV1, PELV1 was found at station Aloha, north of Hawaii. So it was found at station Aloha, north of Hawaii, during sampling seawater 25 meters below the surface. So that time it was found at station Aloha, north of Hawaii. So scientists isolated Pelagodinium plankton and detected the virus as a hitchhiker. So it is affecting the body of that plankton, and name of that plankton is Pelagodinium, and detected this virus. The name of the virus is PELV1 as a hitchhiker is affecting its body. So virus infecting dinoflagellates, name of that dinoflagellate is Pelagodinium, and these viruses are extremely rare, with only two other large DNA virus known to target this group. About Pelval B1, it has a 200 nanometer capsid, which is a covering of virus, and exceptionally long tail, measuring approximately 2.3 micrometers. So this tail is the longest viral appendages till now discovered. Unlike most viruses lack tails, or if it is a virus is having its very small tail. But PELS V1 tail likely help in this long tail of PELV1 virus, help in attaching to and entering to host body. So it shows the tail attaching to plankton soul Pelagodonium during infection. But one the most important characteristic is that after infecting host body, it disappear inside the host body. So it means it has only long tail and which helps in attaching to and entering to host cell. But it disappear when it enters inside the host body. About the genomic features, this virus has a large genome of 4,59,000 base pair containing 467 genes, and some genes are typically found only in living cells. So these virus are having containing 467 genes, and these genes are typically found only in living cell. Most important point is this. And these genes include genes for energy production, light harvesting proteins, and rhodopsin molecules. Rhodopsin, which is the eye pigments, help into capturing sunlight. So these genes are having these characteristic energy production, help in energy production, harvesting light proteins and rhodopsin molecules, which help in capturing sunlight. So this suggests PLV1 may use sunlight to power all of its life cycle, all its life cycle, and which is enable its habitat in a single in a uh, ocean layers under with the help of in sunlight, also in sunlight ocean layers. It requires sunlight. 12B1, in fact, a special plankton name is that Pelagodonium, an important marine phytoplankton which is consumed by eaten by zooplankton and fish. This plankton is consumed by eaten by zooplankton and fish. So about this virus, this virus helps explain energy flow, nutrient flow, cycling in ocean ecosystem, food chain and food web, about that. So it may also shed light on the dynamics of harmful algal bloom also. Algal blooms that increases a large amount of algae in the water body and causes the death of many uh, um, uh, aquatic organism. Algal bloom is also known as the eutrophication. So it may also shed light on the dynamics of harmful algal blooms, which impact marine life and human life, human health also. In turn, in fact, affect human health also. So, alongside related viruses and future research, alongside PB1, researchers discovered a rarer virus called, the rarer virus is called pelvi, co-pelvi, in the same medium, in the same culture. About co-pelvi, it does not have a tail, but carries metabolic genes that could influence, that could infect host behavior and uses its energy for further virus multiplication. So, future studies aim to understand how pelvi 1 has its assemble its tail and roll its and uses its tails in infection, in infecting host body, host cell. So scientists also seek to find other long tail in other marine organism or viruses. Next is about the ancient human presence in Valencia. Ancient human presence in Valencia. So recent discovery in Sulawesi, Indonesia. Indonesia. This news is from Indonesia. So recent discovery in Sulawesi, Indonesia have pushed back the timeline of early human habitation in the Valencia region to about 1.5 million years ago. So recent discovery in Sulawesi, Indonesia have pushed back the timeline of human civilization, human habitation in the region, Valencia region, to about 1.5 million years ago. So archaeologists unearthed stone tools. They explored about the stone tools. They suggest Homo erectus. They suggest, points should be noted, that the archaeologists suggested that after looking after that, unearthing the stone tools, Homo erectus lived on these islands between Asia and Australia far earlier than previously believed. Whatever we believed, Homo erectus live on these islands between Asia and Australia far earlier than previously believed. So these challenges existing views on early human migration and sea travel capability. So it focuses on new existing views, also challenges views also on early human migration, how human migrated, and sea travel capabilities. About the discovery of stone tools, because this news has come after when the archaeologists unearthed stone tools, explored about stone tools. So what are the discovery of stone tools? Archaeologists from Australia and Indonesia found small chipped stone tools in Sopeng, South Sulawesi. So they got stone tools. They found chipped stone tools, small chipped stone tools in place name is a Sopeng in South Sulawesi. So these stone tools were used. This ancient human used these stone tools for cutting small animals, for hunting and carving rocks. So these tools are buried under soil layers. Archaeologists have discovered these under soil layers and dated with the help of radioactive isotope methods, which is showing an age, their age, stone tools age, approximately 1.48 million years, according to archaeologists. Animal teeth also found nearby supported the dating results, radioactive dating result. Animal teeth also found, and it is explaining and indicating that ancient human presence in Valencia region to about 1.5 million years ago. So with the help of stone tools and animal teeth, what are the significance of this founding? So previously it was thought that early humans, ancient humans in Valencia lived only around 1 million years ago on nearby islands, and the name of that island like Flores and Luzo. According to early findings, early human lived only around 1 million years ago, and the name of that on nearby islands, and name of that island is Flores and Luzon. So these new foundings in Sulawesi, Sopeng, South Sulawesi, totally changed the timeline by nearly half a million years ago, so 1.5 million years ago. So this suggests the Homo erectus have the ability, the first man who start walking erect, Homo erectus. So Homo erectus have the ability to cross ocean gaps much earlier than what archaeologists assumed and what we are learning in our textbook. So Homo erectus had the ability to cross ocean gaps much earlier than assumed, than predicted, and then found. So these investigation, this research indicates early humans had some form of sea travel, or island hopping skills. So, what are the implication of human migration theories to moving from one place to another place? So, this discovery challenges the ancient belief that early humans could not travel across open space. There was belief that early humans could not travel across open seas. It indicates that after this discovery, it indicates that Homo erectus might have migrated from the Asian mainland to Valencia Islands much earlier. So this discussion on the roots and methods of prehistoric human migration, human dispersal towards Australia and Pacific region. About Valencia region, Valencia is a group of islands which is found in eastern Indonesia, including Sulawesi, Lombok, Flores, Timor, and Sumbawa. So, Valencia is a combination of group of islands which is present in eastern Indonesia, and it includes Sulawesi, Lombok, Flores, Timor, and Sumbawa. So it lies between the large island of Borneo and Java to the west, and Australia and to the west, Borneo and Java, and Australia and New Guinea to the east. So it lies between the large islands of west side Borneo and Java, east side Australia and New Guinea. So this region is named after Alfred Russel Wallace. Alfred Russel Wallace was a famous naturalist who studied unique flora and fauna, plants and animal of that time. So Wallacea represent a biogeographical zone with a mix of Asian and Australian species. Next news about the lightning death surge in India. So the year 2025 has seen a sharp increase in lightning death because of lightning. So between April and July alone, over 1,600 people died due to lightning and rain-related incidents. So this is linked to changing climate because of changing climate patterns and expanding lighting zones across the country. So many death may be encountered death has seen a sharp increase due to lightning and rain related incidents. So lightning possesses a growing threat not only to urban areas but also to the rural area. So it is lightning now possesses a growing threat not only in rural but also urban areas. What are the rising death rate and historical data? So lightning kills more people annually in India than any other extreme weather event. So lightning kills more than any other extreme weather event from 1967 to 2020. Over approximately 1 lakh deaths were recorded due to lightning. Nearly half of all weather related deaths between 2002 and 2024 were caused by lightning. World Meteorological Organization reported about 1,300 deaths in 2024 alone because of lightning. The eastern state bear the brunt, especially during the monsoon sowing season. So, western state bear the more burnt because of monsoon sowing season. So, more death is seen in eastern state. About climate change and expanding lightning zones. Climate change is intensifying this condition, aggravating this condition, which are because temperature increasing, which is favorable for lightning, and climate is changing. So rising temperature increases humidity by 7% degrees Celsius. So this is it is helping creating more thunderstorm. Scientific studies estimate 10 to 12% increase in lightning per degree of activity, per degree of warming. So reason previously but whatever the reason which are previously less affected, including central, northern and coastal India, now they are also experiencing more lightning strikes. So central, northern and coastal India is also experiencing lightning strikes. About Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan have emerged as new hotspot, overtaking traditional lightning prone areas. Now it becomes lightning prone areas, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan also. The 2360 Indian die of lightning every year on average. It's given about the data. Then again, June saw most lightning strike in 2019. Reason wise data is Central India 50% death, Northeast India 19% death, Northwest India 18% death, South Peninsular India 13% deaths due to lightning. So urban impact and emerging risk, it is not affecting not only rulers but it is also effective urban areas also. So lightning strikes are increasingly increasing in urban centers also, in cities also. Cities face risk from urban heat because of urban heat island effect, which increases temperature and help in thunderstorm formation. There is also more air pollution and rapid increase in urbanization. So it is help in worsening the making the condition storm condition worsening condition, making it bad condition of a storm, and which help in intensifying thunderstorm and flood also. Delhi at present, Delhi has witnessed severe lightning events causing structural damage and many flight disturbance and disruption. Urban electromagnetic infrastructure may also help in increasing lightning vulnerability. So, because of urban electromagnetic infrastructure, there is an increase in lightning also, lightning, thunderstorm. Forecasting advances and implemented. What are the forecasting advances and implementation challenges? So IMD, India Meteorological Department, has improved lightning forecast to approximately 86% accuracy. Alerts now include 5-day potential area warnings and real-time updates every 3 hours. They are giving 5-day potential area warnings and real-time updates every 3 hours. However, lightning's sudden nature makes evacuation difficult, to empty the city difficult. Delays in alert dissemination reduce effectiveness. So, state like Odisha have declared lightning a disaster, but national recognition is still now pending. Odisha have already declared lightning a disaster, but national recognition is pending. The government has launched mitigation project in 50 districts across 10 states. So efforts include mitigation efforts includes protecting palm trees, installing smart poles with more warning system, mapping high risk zones, mobile giving information through mobile app and WhatsApp group is created also to provide real time alerts to local safety coordinators. Outreach campaigns is also there to focus on behavioral changes and preparedness. So, Sthankala Patra approach aims to link scientific forecast with timely community action. So, the approach name is Sthankala Patra approach. It is helpful. It is making a link between scientific forecast with timely community action, timely giving information to people. Next news about NATO's 10-point plan prioritizes women in organ transplants. So, women in organ transplants. India's organ transplant system has seen a major policy update in 2025. So, the National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization, NATO, National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization has issued a 10-point advisory. It has issued a 10-point advisory to reduce gender differences among transplant recipients. There should be no gender disparity among transplant recipients who is receiving the transplants. Women patients and relatives of deceased donors will now receive priority on organ allocation. Women patient and relatives of infected deceased donor will now receive priority in organ allocation. So it aims to create a fairer, transparent organ donation and transplantation process, easier organ donation and transplantation process. So NATO advisory instruct states and union territories to give additional points in organ allocation to women on waiting list. So it also suggests prioritizing near relatives of deceased donor who need transplants. The goal is to address long-standing gender imbalances in organ transplantation. The goal is to reduce gender differences among the transplant recipients. So, about the allocation and criteria and transparency, current organ allocation follows criteria such as disease duration, waiting time, illness severity, compatibility factors like same blood group, size, etc. So NATO mandates a unique ID for every. NATO provides a unique ID for every organ donor and recipient to ensure transparency and clear organ donation, transparent organ donation. Data from all transplant centers must be submitted all the data must be submitted to a national digital registry during organ transplantation. So non-compliance may lead to legal action under the Transplantation of Human Organ and Tissue Act 1994. So act name is Transplantation of Human Organ and Tissue Act 1994. So NATO is the current phase of the scheme covered the periods from 2020-21 to 25-26. So aim to improving access to life saving organ transplants for needy citizen. So it improve access to transplantation for needy citizen, enhance organ donation rates in India, and bridge the gap between availability and demand for organ and tissue. So, what are the achievements of NATO? So, the organ donation rate in India has increased significantly since the launch of this application. So, about the network of Opto has been established across the country, which help in facilitating procurement and transplantation. So there are organ, kidney and liver transplantation are most important point. Kidney and liver transplantation are largely carried out with living donors. It are largely carried out with the living donors. About that global context, India ranks third globally in total annual organ transplant after USA and China. Highest organ transplants out of the total 18,378 organ transplantation in the country in 2023, 10% were to foreign national and who had come to India for treatments. Donors 63% living donors were women, while 77% of diseased donors were men. Recipient 30% were women, being the highest among lung recipients. India achieved another milestone in 2023, more than 1,000 diseased organ donors in a year for the first time. So organ donation in India is growing demand and persistent shortage. The supply of organ donors has not kept up with the increasing demands. There is a slow growth in donor numbers also, decreased organ donation rate also. So countries like Spain and United States have achieved significantly higher donation rate ranging from 30 to 50 donors per million population. There are regional disparity also in organ donation rates. Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Gujarat, Maharashtra have reported the highest number of diseased organ donors. Delhi, NCR, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Maharashtra, and West Bengal are prominent regions with high number of living donors. Living donors means a person who is living and giving the his or her healthy organs. So, living donors constitute the majority, accounting for living donors 85% of all donors in India. However, diseased organ donation, especially for it is for diseased organ donation, especially for kidneys, liver, and heart, remain considerably low. So which organs can be donated is given about that. So NATO is set up under the Directorate General of Health Services. So this application is launched and working under the Directorate General of Health Services, Ministry of Health and Families Welfare, which is located in New Delhi, and it functions as the apex center for all Indian activities for procurement, distribution, registry of organs and tissues, donation and transplantation in the country with full transparency. So about the infrastructure and training enhancement, there is a many training is given on to for transplant coordinators in hospitals performing organ transplants or retrievals. It also recommends organ retrieval facilities in trauma centers and medical colleges and phases. About public awareness and participation, since launching an Aadhaar-based online pledge system, government has launched an Aadhaar-based online pledge system in 2023. Over 3.3 lakh citizens have committed to organ donation. So it is a big path the people have taken. Now, in 2024, India recorded a historic high of 18,900 organ transplantation, which rise from fewer than 5,000 in 2013. So it's really increased from 2013. In 2024, it was 18,900 organ transplants. So the government plans to appoint state level brand ambassador to improve, to boost awareness and dispels to transform to dispel myths surrounding organ donation. Next is the legal and ethical framework. The Transplantation of Human Organ and Tissue Act, Transplantation of Human Organ and Tissue Act 1994 governs organ donation in India. So this new advisory strengthens this advisory strengthening um, enforcement by linking compliance with legal consequences. So it is also stressing the need of for equity and dignity in the transplant process. So this policy aims to balance medical urgency with social justice, ensuring organs reach those people who are in most in need, while reducing all the differences. Next news is IMEC faces challenges. India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor was launched in 2023 to enhance trade and connectivity between India and the Arabian Gulf and Europe. It aims to it aims to reduce shipping timing by 40% compared to traditional routes. However, recent geopolitical conflicts in the Middle East have hindered its progress. So, what is IMEC? IMEC are the India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor, which is a multimodal trade and connectivity project helping linking India's western port with Europe via Arabian Gulf. So IMEC is a multimodal trade and connectivity project helping linking India's western port with Europe via Arabian Gulf. It consists two main lakes, the Indian Gulf Corridor and Gulf Europe corridors. It is a goods move from India to UAE, then by high speed rail through Saudi Arabia and Jordan to Israel's port of Haifa. From Haifa, cargo ships transits to Greece and Italy, where European rail network distribute good across the continent. So these are the pathway. The corridor intends to boost trade, digital connectivity, clean energy exports, and provides job also. So there are having many importance. The corridor was announced during India's G20 presidency in 2023, in between a rare period of Middle Eastern stability. So the EU is India's largest trading partner with bilateral trade exceeding $137 billion in 2023-24. So IMEC aims to streamline trade, reduce cost, and lower emission by integrating infrastructure and digital network across nation. So, its significance is designed to stimulate economic growth by improving infrastructure connectivity and promoting deeper economic integration between Asia, Middle East, and Europe. Yeah, this corridor is structured around two key routes: Eastern Corridor connecting India to Eastern Corridor connecting India to Arabian Gulf, connecting India to Arabian Gulf. Then Northern Corridor linking Arabian Gulf to Europe. Arabian Gulf to Europe. So it also include a dedicated railway link also to help increase the speed and efficiency of businesses on trade across countries such as India, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, and European nation. So Northern Corridor connecting Europe, East Corridor connecting India to Arabian Gulf. So some challenges is also there. The corridor progress has been severely impacted by the ongoing Israel-Gaza conflict, which is going on and deteriorating regional relation. Jordan-Israel ties have also worsened. Saudi Arabia's normalization with Israel has stalled due to Palestinian statehood issues. So these are the challenges it is facing. An expansion of hostilities in Lebanon, Yemen, Syria, Iraq, and tension with Iran further complicate corridor viability. Current status, despite setbacks, the Eastern Leg involving India, UAE, Saudi Arabia continues to show potential due to strong bilateral partnership. India is a key trade partner for both Gulf states with initiatives like UPI based digital payments enhancing connectivity. So, however, competition between Saudi Arabia and UAE over regional influence adds complexity. So, the corridor also aligned with India border Act West policy. So, this corridor also aligns with India's border Act West policy and reflects its growing stature in global diplomacy as it balances cooperation with the West, Middle East, and Europe while safeguarding its national interest. Next news is Punjab's deploys Baj Akh anti-drone system. Baj, eagle-like, Baj Akh anti-drone system. Eagle eye-like, eagle eye, Baj Akh. Punjab has taken a major step in combating drug and weapon smuggling across its border with Pakistan. So recently, the Punjab government launched the Baj-Akh Eagle Eye means Baj-Akh anti-drone system, which is becoming the India first drone system to deploy such technology along an international border to take care of drug and weapon smuggling. So this initiative forms part of Punjab's intensified war against drugs campaign. About backgrounds, so in recent year, drones have become a favored method for traffickers. Punjab shared a sensitive 553-kilometer border with Pakistan, as we know, a hot spot for narcotics and arms smuggling also. So recently, 137 drones have already been intercepted. To counter this, Punjab developed three Bajak anti-drone system with plans to add six more soon. Three has deployed and there is a plan to add six more Bajak anti-drone system to take care of drug and weapon smuggling. Bajak anti-drone system meaning Hawkeye Hawkeye uses advanced technology to detect drones and their ground control station. It automatically alerts authorities with the need for manual monitorings. It automatically provides alerts without the need for any manual monitoring. So this system provides a second line of defense after the border, after BSF. With the Punjab police coordinating closely with BSF, Army, and Air Force. So to check the supply of drug across the border, Punjab has launched anti-drone system named Bajak from the border district of, and the district name is Tantaran. So three such ADS has been deployed and six more will be launched soon to curb the smuggling of drugs and through drones from across the borders. So there are strategic deployment and funding. So the ADS units have been installed in high activity border points from Pathankot to Fazika. So from Pathankot to Fazika, and this project cost approximately 51.4 crore and aims to cover the entire border region eventually. So this deployment marks upgrade in Punjab's border security infrastructure. About government anti-drug campaigns, the Adiant's launch is a part of third phase of states Yudh Nasa Viruddh, states Yudh Nasa Viruddh war against drug campaign. And this government has also introduced a special syllabus for students on drug awareness for classes 9 to 12 in over 3,600 government school in Punjab. Around 8 lakh students are being educated on drug dangers, supported by session from renowned scientists. About political context and enforcement action, Punjab governments led by Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann and AAP National Convener Arvind Kejriwal has adopted a zero tolerance policy on drug smuggling. About coordination among security agency, Punjab Police works alongside BSF, Army, Air Force to monitor and utilize drone threats. And this approach enhances border security and disrupt smuggling networks. Next news is about the Kaleswaran Lift Irrigation Project. Kaleswaran Lift Irrigation Project news is from Telangana. Kaleswaram Lift Irrigation Project in Telangana has recently come under intense scrutiny. Several structure issue and administrative decision have sparked debates about its execution, about its management. A judicial inquiry has been conducted to investigate the allegation. So this project, once hailed as a lifetime for Telangana, now it faces many questions regarding its foundation, regarding its planning, regarding its management, regarding its governance. So, Kaleswaram Lift project in Telangana is recently under many scrutiny, many questioning. Kaleswaram Lift project is a large-scale multi-stage irrigation project which is on Godavari River in Kaleswaram, Bhopal, Pallis district, Telangana. So it utilizes over 18,000 kilometer of canal network to irrigate 16 lakh acres across 13 districts. So initially estimated at 71,000 crore, cost have escalated beyond rupees 1 lakh crore. So location shift from Tumidi Hati to Medigada. Originally, the project barrage was planned at Tumidigati. Despite receiving hydrological clearance, the site was shifted to Midigada, citing water unavailability. However, Central Water Commission data indicated over 200 feet availability at Tumidi Khata. The shift led to many criticism, especially since 30% of the Pranahita Chevila Sujala Sravati project, Pranahita Chavela Sujala Sravanti project work at Tumida Hati were already complete and the investment is approximately 11,000 crore. So Kaleswaram lift irrigation project in Telangana is under many scrutiny after the National Dam Safety Authority reported. So it is the world largest multi-stage lift irrigation project on Godavari region located in Gopalapalli district, Telangana. So this project started at the confluence of Pranhita and Godavari rivers. It uses massive pump system for irrigation, surge pools to lift water to elevated delivery chambers for distribution of water across a vast area. River Godavari is also called Dakshin Ganga, is India's second longest river, originating from Trimbakeswar in Maharashtra. It flows for 14,065 kilometers eastward, draining in Maharashtra, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, before emptying into the Bay of Bengal. So, their major tributaries are Purna, Parhita, Idravati, Sabari, and Pravara, Manjira, Manair. So NDSA is a statutory body headquartered in New Delhi, which is established under the National Dam Safety Act 2021 to regulate and oversee all dams, formulate policies, resolve all disputes, and conduct awareness program. About the structural issues and damage, the Sundila barrage fire sank within 3 years of inauguration. Annaram and Sundila barrage developed cracks after storing large water volumes, which is defying technical advice. So these fault raise concern about engineering standard also and project safety also. Why these are the problem arising. About judicial inquiry and its finding, one main judicial commission led by Justice Pinaki Chandra Ghosh conducted a 15-month inquiry. Over 110 witnesses, including former chief minister and minister, were examined. So the Telangana government plans to discuss the finding in the legislature and seek political census on future steps. About reaction and defenses, the Bharat Rashtra Samiti defended the project, stating it had approvals from statutory bodies, including the Central Water Commission, and was ratified by the Assembly, solved by the Assembly. So, supporters argue that the project complies with procedures, though full documentation remains undisclosed. So, the debate continues over accountability and the project future. Next news is environment protection management of protection management of contamination sites rule 2025. The environment ministry introduced the environment protection means management of contaminated site rules 2025. So this rule provide a legal framework to identify, to assess, to remediate chemical contamination at many sites, many hazardous sites across India. So until now, such sites lacked a formal process despite their risk to health and to environment also. So this new regulation mark a step in addressing this long-standing issue. So about contaminated sites are location where hazardous disadvantages hazardous which are injurious for health, human health, for animals also. So these hazardous waste were dumped historically. So these are called contaminated site where hazardous waste were dumped historically. So this contaminated site which is full of hazardous waste, in after all it increases soil pollution, groundwater and surface water pollution. So this increases ultimately it poses risk to human health and ecosystem also, animal health also. So such sites include landfills, waste dumps, spill areas, chemical storage facilities. So these are contain many hazardous waste. So many were established before regulation existed. Currently 103 contaminated sites have been identified nationwide still now, 103. So need for legal framework. So no legal structure existed to enforce cleanup or assign responsibility. So the 2025 rules fill this gap. Environment protection management of contaminated sites. So 2025 rules fill this gap and they ensure accountability and establish clear procedure for managing all contaminated sites. Until now 103 is known, identified. So this legal backing is key to effective pollution control and to protect environment. So environmental protection management of contamination sites about it is a 1986 to manage all the objectives of say, and it is aligned with the polluter space principle and environmental health protection. Significance is to play important role by giving statutory teeth to CPCB contaminated site list. It is work under polluter pays principle with strict timelines. So what the principle name is polluter pays, and it polluter pays principle work with India UN Sustainable Development Goal 6. United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 6 is clean water, for clean water. Sustainable Development Goal 3 is for health. 6 for clean water, Sustainable Development Goal for 3 health, and Sustainable Development Goal 12 for responsible consumption and waste. So there are some assessment and remediation process. District administration must submit half-yearly reports on suspected contaminated sites. State pollution boards or designated expert bodies conduct preliminary assessment within 90 days. The rule cover 189 hazardous chemical identified under previous regulation. So these are the assessment and remediation process. About responsibility and funding, The expert body prepares a remediation plan for each sites. The state board identifies polluters responsible for contamination within 90 days. So if polluters cannot pay the central and state government fund cleanup, criminal liability applies to that type of polluters if contamination causes death or damage under provision of Bharatiya Navya Sanhita 2023. So polluters have to pay under the provision of Bharatiya Navya Sanhita 2023. About the exemption limitation, this rule exclude radioactive waste. This rule, important points should be noted. This rule, Bharatiya Navya Sanhita 2023, this rule exclude radioactive waste, mining pollution, marine oil pollution, solid waste from dump sites. These are governed by separate laws. Contaminated sites are governed by separate laws. Another limitation is the absence of strict deadlines to complete remediation once a site is identified. So this may affect timely restoration of contaminated land. So there is a lacuna of it. Now next is news is blue pink gill mushroom discovered in Telangana forest. Blue pink gill mushroom which is discovered in Telangana forest. So the Kagaj Nagar forest division in Komaram Bhim Asifabad district of Telangana has witnessed a rare burst of colorful fungi. Name is blue pink gill mushroom. Place is Nagar forest division which is located in Komaram Bhim Asifabad district of Telangana. So there it was found a rare colorful fungi. Name is blue pink gill mushroom. Name of that fungi is blue pink gill mushroom found in Nagar forest division in Komaram Bhim Asifabad district of Telangana. So the name is a blue pink mushroom. Scientific name is Etoloma hodgstateri. Etoloma hodgstateri. It is a species which is native to New Zealand. So it is having a blue color because of its rare appearance. Alongside the shuttlecock mushroom, scientific name is a Clathras delicatus. Clathras delicatus was also recorded in the Kawal Tiger Reserve, marking its first sighting in the Eastern Ghats. So there is also another discovery, shuttlecock mushroom. Name is a Clathus delicatus. Was recorded in Eastern Ghat in Kawal Tiger Reserve. This finding shows the exceptional type of fungal diversity and ecological uniqueness of Telangana's forest. About blue pink gill mushroom, it look like a sky blue mushroom. It is also called a sky blue mushroom because it is body is having striking bright blue cap and stem also blue color. Gills appear pink to purples due to presence of spores. So it color comes from a rare pigment, and the rare pigment found in blue pink gill mushroom, the name of that pigment is azulene pigments. It is a blue color mushroom. So the pigment found in its body is azulene pigments, which is uncommon to all fungi. Its cap is also flat to funnel shaped. Gills can be pink or white color. So, and with spores producing a pink to salmon spore print. So, these features are specifically useful in identification of this blue pink gill mushroom, and because of the pigment name is azulene pigments. About native habitat and distribution, originally native in New Zealand, and now the blue pink gill grows in broadleaf forest. It also grow in soil rich with leaf litters. Mushroom appears, as we know that mushroom appears mostly during monsoon when moisture is high and soil condition are ideal for the growth of mushroom. Its discovery, blue pingil mushroom discovery in Telangana, is unusual and suggests favorable ecological condition in the forest of Komaran, forest of Kazaranga forest in Komaran Vim, Asifabad district of Telangana. So it's about that characteristic cap, stems, gills, spore lights, pink in colors. So mushroom's blue hue comes from azulene pigments. Habitat and distribution is present in grows in broadleaf forest with soil rich with leaf waste, leaf litters. Appear mostly during monsoon. Soil condition are optimal for Telangana. Soil condition is optimal for this type of fungal growth. So discovery in Telangana is unusual and suggests the forest of Komaram Bhim, Asifabad provides a favorable ecological condition which is beneficial for the growth of this type of fungi and comparable to native habitat also. Next is discovered by shuttlecock mushroom. Shuttlecock mushroom is first for the Eastern Ghat. So shuttlecock mushroom alongside the blue pink gill, researchers also discovered, also documented the shuttlecock mushroom. It is discovered in Western Ghats in Kawal Tiger Reserve. It was discovered in Kawal Tiger Reserve. It is also a fungi and name is a shuttlecock mushroom. So its significance, what is its significance? It is it marks the first recorded sighting in the Eastern Ghats. It marks its first recorded sighting in the Eastern Ghats, and it is indicating possible ecological linkage between India's different mountain ranges. About this significance of shuttlecock mushroom, biodiversity richness, it shows shuttlecock mushroom and previous known fungi has two type of fungi has discovered. So it's shown the biodiversity richness in Telangana's forest. The role of, and as you know that fungi is very important, it acts as a decomposer and nutrient cycling. So the need to reassess habitat connectivity across different Indian ecosystem. So such rare fungi often serve as bioindicator also because it indicate the overall health of forest ecosystem. So these fungi also act as a bioindicators. Bioindicator means it is indicating the health of forest ecosystem. Ecological significance, the recent sighting in Kazanangar and Kawal Tiger Reserve reveal rich fungal biodiversity, shuttlecock mushroom present in Eastern Ghat, and then this challenges earlier habit adaptation and indicates ecological connection between different mountain ranges. So such type of findings about fungi are important to understand forest ecosystem health and fungal diversity in India also. Role of monsoon in fungal growth. There is a very important role of monsoon in fungal growth because moisture, temperature is essential in which is required. It is provided by monsoon region. Monsoon rains saturate forest floor, creating ideal condition for fungi growth. It also support forest diversity by helping decomposition and nutrient cycling, which is done by fungi. So, what are the significance and academic importance? Documentation of these rare fungi like blue pink gill, shuttlecock mushroom. So, these two fungi enriches mycological connection. It helps map species distribution and understanding ecological niches also. So this discovery encourage further research on fungal diversity. It also show the need for forest conservation to protect such unique biodiversity because it acts as a decomposer, it acts as a bioactivators. So there is a urgent need for forest conservation, ensuring that unique biodiversity is preserved for future generation and further research. Next news is special development package for Assam Tripura growth. Union Cabinet recently approved 4 new components under the Central Sector Scheme of a Special Development Package for Assam and Tripura. So it is a gift for Assam and Tripura. Union cabinet recently approved 4 new components under the central sector scheme of a special development package, and these packages are for Assam and Tripura, and it total central outlay of 4,250 crore is given by these two states, aim to accelerate to improve socio-economic development in historically underdeserved socioeconomic development in historically underdeserved tribal and ethnic regions. About it focuses on infrastructure, livelihood, peace, and stability. It follows the memoranda of settlement signed with various ethnic groups between 2022 and 24. Social development packages approves extend similar benefits to Adivasi, Dimasa, Alpha, NLFT, ATTF communities. So earlier packages for Bodo and Karbi groups have shown positive result in maintaining peace and their development also. About financial outlay and distribution, so 7,250 crores for the total financial outlay for the 4 new component is 7,250 crore. The center will provide 4,250 crore under the SDP Special Development Scheme, 4,000 crore for Assam, 250 crore for Tripura. So Assam state government will contribute 3,000 crore. Assam fund will be utilized for over 5 years, while Tripura allocation will span 4 years up to 29 and Assam up to 30. These are Tripura at current prices. Component-wise allocation given 500 crore for Assam, 500 for infrastructure in Dimsa groups, 3,000 crore for Assam under the 2023 MOS with Alpha groups, 250 crore for tribal welfare in Tripura, aligned with NLFT and ATTF groups. There is a social economic impact to generate employment through infrastructure and livelihood projects. It also benefit youth and women via skill development, income generation, entrepreneurship, support, increased tourism is also increased. About peace and stability promotion, MOS agreements are important for mainstreaming communities affected by conflicts. So this scheme success with previous ethnic groups underline its potential to stabilize the region. Implementation timeline, funds for Assam, 3 components will be disbursed over 5 years, which is going to be starting from 2025-26. Tripura's component will be implemented over 4 years, beginning the same financial year. Next news is a Kakori conspiracy. Kakori conspiracy, this is not under the science and technology, but I have included because it is important news. Kakori conspiracy, few 4 news I have included because these are important news, so I have included. The Kakori conspiracy marked a critical event in India's struggle for independence. All of you are knowing 9 August 1925, revolutionary on the Hindustan Republic Association, which were carried out a daring train robbery near Kakori, Uttar Pradesh. So it is about the Kakori conspiration, Hindustan Republican Association, a train robbery near Kakori, Uttar Pradesh in the year 1925. So this act was aimed at funding their fight against British colonial rule and protesting heavy tax. It is a main to fight against British colonial rule and protesting heavy taxation imposed on Indians. So this event symbolized courage and sacrifice in the freedom movement and remains chapter in modern Indian history. Objective of Kokari conspiracy is the Kokari train robbery was planned to seize government treasury money transported by train. The goal was to finance revolutionary activities and show opposition to British economic exploitation. The act intended to send a message without harming any innocent civilians. So, Kakori train robbery happened in 9 August 1925. Revolutionary, including Ram Prasad Bismil, Asafagul Khan, Chandrasekhar Azad, and others, stopped the train, ate down train near Kakori. They looted rupees 2,000 from the British Treasury guard cabin. The operation was swift and targeted only government funds. A passenger, Ahmad Ali, died accidentally during a crossfire, making it a manslaughter case. The robbery shocked the British administration and ignited a massive crackdown. So, about the arrest and trial in Kakori conspiracy, the trial began on 21st May 1926 with 28 accused members of HRA. The prosecution by led by Pandit Jagat Narayan Mulla. The trial attracted national attention and became a symbol of resistance against colonial injustice. About the verdict and sentences in July 1927, the court pronounced its verdict. Four revolutionaries, Ram Prasad Bismillah, Asfakullah Khan, Thakur Roshan Singh, Rajendra Lahiri was sentenced to death. Several others received long prison terms or deportation to cellular jail in Andaman Islands. Despite public protests, the British government executed the death sentence in December 1927. About the legacy and impact, the Kakori conspiracy inspired many to join the freedom struggle. So it demonstrated the willingness of young Indians to sacrifice for independence. Leaders like Chandrasekhar Azad continued revolutionary activities until his death in 1931. So it remains an important subject in Indian history and civil services examination. So it is given under the current news also. So I have included this. It's remain an important subject in Indian history and civil services examination. This event brought into light the economic exploitation under British rule and the rise of militant nationalism. Next news is the Hepata plurum assamicum. Hepata plurum assamicum. It is a new plant species name. Botanists revealed a new plant species name, Hepata plurum assamicum. Assamicum means it was found in Assam. So from Assam, botanists revealed a new plant species name, Hepateleurum assamicum from Assam's Dima Hasau and West Karbi Anglong district. The name of the districts are Dima Hasau, and West Karbi Anglong districts. So it is a shrub. So these Hepata plurum assamicum shrub have enriches the biodiversity of Northeast India, a region knowing Northeast India is a region which is full of unique flora. So this species was found during detailed survey in the Kopil River basin, growing on large boulders in flowing water habitats. So it's found in flowing water habitats. So this discovery marks the region's still unexplored botanical wealth. Many species are still there. Discovery about this Hepateleurum assamicum. Hepateleurum assamicum was located in a specialized rheophytic habitats. So it's such plants grow in fast flowing water. Rheophytic habitat means fast flowing water. So this shrub expose roots and umbrella shaped leaves are umbrella shaped. So different types of leaf appearance. Leaves is umbrella shaped shrub, exposed roots. Only about 10 individual plants till now. Only about 10 plants were found, all on a single large rock along the river bank. All found on a single large rock along the river bank. Kopil River Basin. So this limited population suggests a fragile existence. About taxonomy and botanical features, this species belong to Araliaceae family, which includes the Araliaceae family include the ornamental plants, ornamental umbrella plants. So is a Herpetiorum arboricola. Unlike its relative Hepateleurum assamicum has a narrow lance-shaped leaflets under 1.2 centimeter wide, vivid purple, greenish yellow flowers. With the greenish yellow flowers, same like H. arboricola. Shrubs inflorescence hold up to 15 flowers per umbels. Up to 15 flowers per umbels. So the fruit also ripen to a deep ripened fruit is color is deep reddish purple with unique orange red glands, which is a unique trait in this genus. Phenology, the flowering occurs from January to March, fruits mature by May. So these seasonal patterns align with the regional climate. Conservative status, Hepatoleurum asamicum is classified as data deficient by the classified as data deficient by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. IUCN has said that currently Hepatoleurum asamicum is classified as data deficient. No immediate threats have been reported till now, but its still localized population could be vulnerable to environmental changes. Ornamental potential and ecological importance. Its discovery adds to the growing list of endemic species in northeast India. So it also put stress on importance of protecting riverine and forest ecosystem in the region. So this species exemplifies the evolving taxonomy of Herpetoleurum, recently separated from the broader genus Scyphilera. About significance, with over 320 species worldwide of this species found and 23 in India, the genus Hepatoleurum remains underexplored in Northeast. The new species have enriches the biodiversity hotspot status of Assam. So it marks the need for ongoing botanical exploration in accessible yet poorly studied areas are these areas. Next news is India's US trade tension over Russian oil imports. All are of